Hello everyone, welcome to our presentation on winning war against farmworm. I'm Tafadzwa Mamvura, technical advisor for Shumba Group. I'm mainly responsible for environmental health and crop chemical. Today our discussion is on how we're supposed to control farmworm in the field. For background information, if a farmer is facing a challenge of farmworm, he can reduce his yield by 70%. So in Zimbabwe, we started noticing farmworm since 2016. That's when we first identified that we've got a challenge in farmworm. And since then, there have been activities, trainings on how to control farmworm. But today I'm starting on farmworm identification, the actual worm that we're talking about. Farmworm has got a life cycle, which is an adult stage, the larva, egg, and the lymph. So the main challenge on this life cycle will be on the larval stage. The larval stage has got 6 insta-stages that will be occurring in the field. After the eggs hatch from the field, and on identification of the egg, if you scout your field or if you get into your field, you notice that if you check on the leaves, either on top or underneath the crop, that's when you can identify the eggs. They can be either yellowish, gray, or whitish in color. The color depends on what the moth, when it laid the eggs, what it was consuming. But usually the grayish color indicates the head of the farmworm head. And also the fairy, which is either grayish or yellowish, depends on the adult moth. When it lays eggs, it removes some of the fur to protect the eggs from natural predators, which can be either ants or any other pest or animal that will be in the field. So on identification, usually we say if the farmer identifies the farmworm, we encourage them to squash them using their fingers so that they don't hatch and prolong the life cycle. And also on the worm, if you try to pick it up from the field, if you notice it has got an inverted Y in the face, which depicts it for farmworm, which is different from other caterpillars or worms that we find in the field. And also if you look at its body or the segments of the farmworm, there are 2 lateral lines that runs along the worm body, and also there are 4 distinct dots at the end of the segment of each larva, of each farmworm larva, that are square in shape. At times, most farmers cannot pick up the organism from the field. Usually it feeds at night and during the night. So the other things that you can actually identify that you've got farmworm in the field is crop damage. You might find when the larvae are between first insta and third insta stages, usually they've got less developed teeth, hence they cause windowing or paneling on the leaves. You find they will look or depict like less curtains or something that is lacy. That's when you see that there's farmworm activity. And also between the insta number 4 to 6, that's when the adult worm is more visible and there's more crop damage in the field. Usually you can find straight holes along the crop leaf to depict that there's a farmworm. And also when they feed, they produce frass, which they usually use as a defense mechanism by blocking the tunnel, and they'll go deep down into the tunnel, in the funnel, and hide there. So frass, leaf damage would also determine if you've got a problem or challenge for farmworm. At times when you scout your fields, we encourage farmers to do it after every 2 to 3 days in the field. You go right in the field, not you go in the middle. You can either go by row, then you calculate how many plants you have, then you check each plant. So you either identify the eggs, the worm, or the moth. Moth, usually when we advise farmers to control moths, we advise them to use pheromone traps. Minister of Lands and Agriculture has got sites that they use pheromone traps to trap farmworm, but the traps will only trap the male moth. Hence, that will stop reproduction. If the male doesn't meet the female moth, the eggs won't be fertilized. In the field, you see crop damage, identifying the actual worm, or picking up the moth from the pheromone traps. In that way, we encourage farmers when they're scouting, it's between 2 to 3 days. Every week you scout your fields so that you check if there's presence of farmworm. As I mentioned earlier, a farmer can actually lose up to 70% of the yield if they don't control forearm. Right now, from Shumba Group, we're concentrating mainly on communal farmers. We conduct trainings to farmers on how to identify the actual worm or the actual moth or eggs in the field. Hence, after identification, we encourage farmers to start controlling or have a strategy to control forearm in the field so that you ensure that your yield is not reduced. You find forearm usually affects maize, which is the main crop that we're focusing on this presentation. Maize produces our staple food, which is mealie meal, and we consume it. And also it affects sorghum, millet, and at times you find it in wheat. And also during off-season, you can also find it either affecting cabbages or any other crop that is in the field, as long as it's providing a food source. So right now, when we're talking about strategy for controlling forearm, we encourage farmers when they're buying their seed, when they're buying their herbicides, when they're buying their fertilizer, they also purchase the insecticide to control forearm. We won't be quick into going into forearm control using synthetic products, but there are also measures that you can do to control forearm. Some are using push and pull factor, whereas you plant a lab, which is a fodder crop, alongside maize. That way you ensure that your crop doesn't attract forearm into the field, whereas lab will repel the forearm away from the food. So we call it push and pull factor. But there are also crops that you can also alternate using the push and pull factor. It depends on the area that you're in, but we encourage farmers to use fodder crops so that you ensure that after harvesting, also your animals have got food source to eat. For now, I would like to discuss how people might ask, how did you get forearm into Zimbabwe? The adult moth in 24 hours can fly up to 100 kilometers from one region to the other. Forearm originally is from the Americas, but it traveled to Africa, sub-Saharan Africa to be precise, in 2016. So we encourage farmers, when you're trying to control forearm, be strategic in terms of how you control it. I'll talk about Ecoterex GR and Ecoterex EC30. Ecoterex GR does not need any water, or you do not mix it with anything. You apply it by hand, dropping a pinch per plant station. For a hectare, a farmer requires 4 kgs of Ecoterex GR, and as I mentioned earlier, Ecoterex EC30 is liquid based. It's an EC emulsifiable concentrate. You mix it with water at a ratio of 10 ml per 10 liters of water, then you spray using a knapsack sprayer. Also, again, we encourage farmers on application of Ecoterex EC, ensure that your nozzle is well calibrated, and when you're spraying, you spray focusing mainly on the funnel so that the insecticide gets into contact with the forearm worm. And again, on that one, as I alluded earlier, we need to have a cost-benefit analysis in terms of controlling forearm worm. If you apply your Ecoterex GR or Ecoterex EC in time using blanket application, then you can be able to control your forearm worm. If you apply it less, it also late, it will mean that even if your crop recovers from forearm damage, it will have small cob development. Hence, you've got less kernels per cob, and hence you've got reduced tonnage per yield. We encourage farmers to apply to control forearm between 6 to 8 leaves of plant development, and just before tasseling stage. That's why we encourage our control forearm, so that we ensure that if there's less leaf damage, hence you've got increased kernel development or increased kernel accumulation on a single cob. Again, we encourage farmers to calculate how much in terms of cost have you put in a hectare, and how much do you expect to yield during harvesting. That way you can be able to calculate, can you afford, or is it worth to purchase an insecticide so that when you calculate your cost and your returns, you have a profit margin that still remains with you. So we encourage farmers to apply the economic threshold calculation. We'll share in the next presentations how you're supposed to calculate your economic threshold so that you determine which is the best insecticide you need to purchase from agro dealers so that you can protect your yield against fall armyworm. For further information or any questions, you can also contact us as Shumba Group. My cell number is 0773 415548. My name is Tafadzwa Mamvura. Thank you.